Welcome back to the Home of Horror podcast. And welcome back to the Home of Horror podcast. I'm your host, John. This is my co-host, Matt. Matt, say hi.
What is cracking?
We got a doozy for you, folks.
Always doozy.
It really is a doozy this time, though.
We got
Not that every time isn't a doozy, but this time's really a doozy. Oh, there it goes. Love it. We got our main man, Eric. He's crafty. What's going on, man? How you doing?
What's up, gentlemen? I'm doing good. How about yourselves?
good.
Fucking great, man. Not that we haven't been talking for a fucking hour already, but we just finally decided to hit record, and we just want to say, man, that we're huge fans of the YouTube page, all the stuff you're doing over there, and your props and stuff like that. And obviously, this Halloween season was a big time for you. We saw the Demogorgon and shit and all that fucking dope.
The Demogorgon was the shit.
Yeah, we just watched it even
Yeah.
before we came on, and we were like, man, that's fucking so cool, dude. And like, do you do all this stuff in your, is it just in your garage? It looks like it's all in your garage. Is that what's going on?
Yes. First off, much appreciated. Thank you,
Yeah.
gentlemen. I am a fan of your show as well. Like I work nights, and you know what I mean. So it's like a month. They got us going a month at the office, a month at home. So when I'm in a month at home, you and a lot of other YouTube shows get me through the long ass night. So I much appreciate it, and
Fuck
I'm
yeah,
really
man.
much a fan as well. But yeah, all of my shit, it's all in my garage or in my backyard on my deck.
Right.
That's
That's
all.
awesome, man. We love to see that shit because
That is awesome, dude.
yeah,
Seriously.
it's dope. First of all, it's cool that, you know, most of the shows you're listening to are like some independent shit, and you know, other YouTube people and the dudes at Pillar of Thriller, like we've talked about, listening to those types of podcasts and keeping it kind of you know, the little guys, I would like to say, you know what I mean? Like, you know, we're not big, you know what I mean?
Whoa, speak for yourself, bro.
Told you this guy was a dick, but everybody listening to the show fucking
That's what
knows
everybody
that.
calls me. The dick.
But that's so cool, man. Like, you know, just in and around the house. When did you start doing all this stuff? Was it just like a hobby, and you just started to say, hey, we want to start making videos out of this? Or
What I think about it is like we'll say probably about let's see, it's about like 9 years ago or whatever. You know, I started like we moved to a new house, you know, and just put up like we moved, and you know, Halloween was just right around the corner. I only threw up like a few little shit decorations, you know. My kid really got into them and stuff, and then like I started to want to decorate more, you know, and then I just like it just started growing from there. You know what I mean? I started like wanting to incorporate like a lot of different stuff. It started off with doing like the digital projection decorations in the windows and stuff. You know, start off with that, and I was like, all right, that shit's dope. But now, you know what I mean? I need a yard to go with it or whatever. You know?
Right.
So I started
Right.
growing and making more stuff, and then making more stuff, and then it just came to a point where I was like, man, I start doing my one friend song. He's like a big food blogger here in Michigan. So, and like his whole thing is Chow Down Detroit. You know, so he was posting stuff on his YouTube channel. He's like, ah, you should do his YouTube channel, all that stuff or whatever. I'm like, that's cool, man. So maybe I will. You know, so I started watching like other videos and stuff, and I was just like, you know, my whole thing was awesome content. You could learn a lot from everything. I just wanted mine to be a little bit more entertaining. I mean, like I didn't
Right.
want to like a lot of times you're totally learning what to do. They're awesome at what they do and stuff, but like I totally don't need like you know 20 minutes of somebody like with a heat gun melting the fucking pool noodle, dude. Like 20 minutes. I'm
Right.
like,
That's what
my whole
that's
Yeah.
totally what I like about watching the videos too, because it's just quick. You give a quick synopsis of what you're doing, you know, spray paint, fucking heat gun.
Right.
You're not fucking, well, you want to take the time here, you know, extra time.
Well,
It's,
and there's not a bunch of like, you know, there's obviously little clips here and there of like you guys making some jokes and shit like that, which is dope. But like, mostly it's like the videos, 5 to 8 minutes, maybe
Right.
a little longer
Perfect.
sometimes. But we had just also watched how you made the rotting corpse, and we were super interested in that because we have a scene in our new script that we're writing that has to do with that. And actually he had sent me a video,
Of this, essentially the same type of thing that you had
right,
done
with the heat gun and
with the
everything like
paint and all
that.
that stuff.
But I
Right.
was like, yo, he's crafty. Eric does the same thing. I was like, check this video out. And so we were like, yo, we should, it led to like having you on as well.
Right.
But we were kind of like, man, that's so cool. And it's so nice that it's like, when you're someone like us who's like, we're not great at making practical effects or props or anything like that. Like we did Worm, and it was very, very simple things, and
Nylons filled with paper towels for like
right, for
intestines and all that
intestines and
stuff.
shit.
And it didn't look great, but for us, it was
It
like,
worked.
it was what we needed at the time. And it was essentially me and John filming everything at the same time. So it's
No,
like one of us is holding a cell phone,
Right.
trying to like tape it while we're like acting. And it was tough. But when we watched the final product, I think we were pretty happy with it overall.
Yeah.
But we could definitely do better. And like somebody like you, I think it shows people what you could do, what you can do better. You know what I mean?
Well, and you don't have to, with you, I think if people are like us who are looking for those like tips and tricks, that DIY stuff, you like you said, you have these 30-minute videos, and it's like I'm just gonna skip
right.
and see what I need to know. But with your videos, it's like, dude, this is clean cut, to the point, and it's entertaining.
I was just gonna say that, and the entertainment factor is there as well. So yeah,
It's awesome.
That was the
dude.
thing for me, man. I just like, dude, I want to do some different shit. You know what I mean? Like I want to, I don't always want to be myself. You know what I mean? I want to have like different characters and shit. And then like, like one of my favorite things we did was we made that the Norris spider head creature from The Thing. You know what I mean? And we did.
Yeah.
It's like a music video to Lionel Richie's "Hello." You know what I mean? And I'm
Right.
just like,
So
me and my
cool.
friend Tom, we'll just like sit there and like we come up with things and shit. I'm like, oh, we're gonna be kind of like sculpting a head, and I'm like, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think sculpting a head? We're like the fucking Lionel Richie "Hello" video where he's
Yeah,
sculpting
right.
his head, bro, and it, like looks like a fucking werewolf. He looks like a werewolf at the end of that shit, So I was like, some shit we can do, man. Let's just change all the lyrics to help, to like stuff about The Thing, and we're
Yeah.
Right.
my boy
So
Tom, he can sing his ass off, dude. So I'm just like any of that kind of stuff where I'm like, let's do it. Cause like I got a bunch of ideas like to do like, like on YouTube, you get those copyright not
Yeah.
strikes, but you get a copyright claim on
The
when you throw in
infringements.
music you want to use. And sometimes the music is important, man. It kind of like makes the video,
Oh,
like
for
I want,
sure.
so I've just been like coming up with things like if I want an 80s style song, I'm just gonna like freaking find some 80s style music that I like, and then we're just gonna like write lyrics about like the song will just
Right.
be like, we gotta
For
sing
sure.
this song because we don't want to copyright claim. It's
Dude,
like,
it's so funny. It's like
just
that
gonna do
stuff's
shit
so
like that.
important. It's so important,
is.
dude. Like we, obviously when we made Worm, it was like we were lucky that it's like, oh, I've been making music for 12 years. So it was easy to, I wouldn't say it was easy to come up with a score, but it was like my brain is already like, I already
can-
know how to like put that together. You know what I mean?
See, and that's
And-
awesome, dude. Because the music is such a key
Yeah.
component of a movie that when you can take what's in your head and then make the music, and then like I wanted to do this here, dude, that adds so much more to it, dude. That's just
Yeah.
like a whole nother level that you've got going on there, that layer of commanding the music. I mean, like what Halloween, dude, like what the fuck would Halloween be without Carpenter's score?
Right.
It's not going to be as suspenseful.
No,
what I mean?
Right.
not even close.
And I think a lot of people, it's lost on them that Carpenter is the one doing all of this stuff. You know what I mean? For not your
Right.
typical horror, you know what I mean? If you're a horror
Oh, and
junkie,
he made it in like a month.
right, that Carpenter does this, but like you look at The Fog, you look at some of these other movies that he's done, it's like
Dude, the best thing about The Fog is the
dude,
fucking
it's the
score is unbelievable.
I hated
dude.
The Fog. I know it's taboo to
I
say,
love
but
The Fog. I love
No,
it.
dude, it's not.
it's
I
not
love
it's
it.
not a
That's
great
what-
movie. It's not, for me, it's not
better
a
than
great
the remake.
it's
for
better than
sure.
the remake.
Yeah.
But it's true that the score itself was like, it was incredible. It was like, oh my
Right.
God, like I'm listening to the score throughout the movie.
Again, Tom Atkins with his giant dick is just
Yeah, he's in there, you know.
Yeah, he gets
Adrian
Jamie
Barbeau
Lee.
with her
right,
back.
Yeah,
right.
he gets Jamie Lee, man.
He gets Jamie Lee in the beginning of that movie.
But it
I
is
mean,
important, and it's so weird because like the infringement thing I get, because it's like, you know, you don't want everybody jacking your shit, but like,
right.
you know, you know, the little guys do suffer because if you don't have that. But it's the same thing with us. Like when we made Worm, it was like, okay, like I can put together a score. I've never done a score before, but I know horror movies, so I know where like the suspense can be, and not that it was perfect or anything, but it was like I can put this together. But then like someone like you who's like making these awesome videos, and then like you have to worry about the music and people viewing it because of the music, and then we're the opposite. We're like, oh shit, we can't do the props very well. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
Jesus, I wish we were both from the fucking same place and we could fucking link up, you know.
I'll help you as much as I can. For real.
Oh dude, yeah.
My-
we already talked about that, bro. We watched your video on, you did the Necronomicon as well.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, you know, part of our script there is this ancient Bible looking book, you know, some like a very ancient style book, and we were like, man, we might want to link up and see if he can do anything for that, you know.
Right.
I definitely can. Give me an idea of what you want and I'll get it. But like because that's my shit, dude. Like it's like growing up, you know, wanting to make movies, and this is really pretty much where this whole thing started. It's evolved into this, but it started with me wanting to make movies, you know. And this is back in like, you know, this is the 90s and shit, dude. So like, you know, everything was Tarantino and that kind of shit, or whatever. I mean, like that was the big boom. Like once Pulp Fiction came out, then like just like the whole independent filmmaking type of thing was going on. And like, you know, I'd always wanted to make movies. Like I was a huge fan of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I think that was the movie that totally made me want to make movies. I'm like, this motherfucking movie is so awesome, dude. Dude goes under the truck, bro. Indiana Jones is awesome. And it's just like, it made me want to make movies, you know. And it's just you know, and it went on from there. And it was, you know, it's like the 90s and shit, and it's like, I don't know. That's why I like listening to podcasts. Like I don't need to listen to the big popular podcast, even though I might do it. I appreciate everyone's opinion and shit, but like it was just like back in the day, you're trying to make movies and shit, and like, you know, you want to make horror movies and stuff. And around that time, you know, you always get some like there was like a lot of pretentious people, like film students and stuff. I went to school and like for like film history class and stuff, you know, and there's those people in there which are like, oh, you know, like, fucking Halloween is they might like Halloween, but then, you know, you drop a fucking other movie you like or whatever, and they're just like, oh. That's why I'm just like, you know, I like to listen to like, you know, you guys are real horror fans. I like to listen to that kind of shit. I want to listen to people that are real about it. You know what I mean? Like,
that's probably the best compliment we've ever got, that we're real horror fans.
100%. Yeah.
You know, I appreciate
and
that.
like you and Pillar of Thriller, I listen to Gut podcast and stuff. All those dudes, you guys are, you know, and like Heather Loves Horror. You're all like, it's real horror fans. You know, there's like this horror community on Instagram, and I mean, like, I totally appreciate that shit, because like, you know, I was off social media for a long time. You know what I mean? Like I got that 2 kids. You know what I mean? It's just like time was, you know, just focused somewhere else and everything. You know what I mean? But getting back into it and trying to like grow your audience and like, I want people to watch these videos and shit. It's been so awesome, dude. Horror community on Instagram
is great.
Sure, is awesome, dude. So it really fucking is awesome. Dude. Everybody's really fucking awesome on there. It's all I can say. Is like, I totally appreciate that stuff. Like, when anybody like comments on anything, like a post or a video, man, like I always, you know, I feel stupid. I always reply with the same shit, but I'm like, I don't know what else to tell you. I really truly appreciate the shit, because
and people are creating like dope shit. Like everybody I'm like, you know, everybody I'm engaging with is like, I'm like, damn, they have this cool thing that they do, whether it's, you know, they're an influencer, their photos are dope or whatever the fuck it is. I'm just like, oh my God, I wish I had, like, fuck, let's link. Like, I just want to fucking collaborate with everyone. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
so fucking
I hope-
crazy, dude.
Is your I don't want to get too personal here, but are your family and your wife are your kids and your wife into everything you do with the practical effects and all that stuff, or are they kind of just like, oh, dad's doing his thing again? You know what I mean?
Definitely my kids are. My wife, I get her in videos and stuff, and like
Yeah.
she's totally cool with the shit, dude. She's awesome, man. That's why I'm like totally lucky to have like the family that I have. But she's
Right.
like, I come into her and I'm like, all right, check this out. All right. So like the one video we're making a fucking cake from Creep Show, and I'm like, I need you in the end of this video, okay? They're gonna come in and say, kids are gonna come in and say, Dad's having a midlife crisis again, and then you're gonna be like, again, you know what I mean? It's fucking awesome, dude. You're just down with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's cool.
So
And, like
dope.
totally supported by doing that stuff.
That's
dude.
awesome.
It's just like awesome. And my oldest son, he's 12, so he's really like we we watch some horror movies together and stuff, because around my age, I was that age when I started watching horror movies with my friends and shit, and like
Right.
you know what I mean? We go out and rent the Evil Dead. You know what I mean? And we're just like,
Yeah.
gosh, you watch this Evil Dead movie, dude. I heard it was fucking grotesque. You know what I mean? So we're like going out getting that Faces of Death, all that shit.
Yeah. Fuck
So
yeah.
it's just, I was like telling them, I'm like, dude, I was your age when I started watching horror movies. So, we want to watch one, we can watch one. I mean, like it's I'll draw the line at some of them, you know what I mean? But
Oh,
we want
yes.
to watch Halloween 2, all those, the classics.
Right.
Even the Friday the 13th, when you watch them now compared to stuff now, they're pretty tamed.
Oh,
you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
for
the gore.
sure.
So,
For sure.
it's not that really the hyper realistic gore. You know what I mean? It's just like,
right.
that's why I'm like, dude, I'm down if you want to watch these movies. He
Yeah.
helps me out and stuff. They're in videos, and like he was Michael Myers for Halloween, so like
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
I
That's
wanted
so
to
great.
shoot like for those digital projections on the windows, like sometimes I'm like, damn, I wish they had a better selection and shit. So we just came down to the basement here. I got a green screen set up. He just stood in front of the green screen as Michael Myers, and I'm like, just give me the head tilt, and then like put your knife up and stuff. And so he knocked that shit out, and then I just fucking green screened some fire behind him, and then just projected it in his
yeah.
bedroom window. So
That's
it's like,
awesome.
That's so
That's
cool,
awesome.
man. Yeah, it's great to
So
have the
we-
whole family in on
Was
it, man.
Evil Dead one of the first real horror movies that really attracted you to the genre, or was that?
I think the way so it started off like I just always remember watching like the TV versions of like Halloween and Halloween 2 in particular.
Yep.
So those were the ones that I'd always see on local TV here. You know what I mean? Which is like it started off with that, and then when we got into school, like we would always like pass this book around, Zombies That Ate Pittsburgh, which was kind of like a book about George Romero making the whole Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's all about that, and we're like passing that around, dude. We're like, look at this shit, bro. So then like we had to get the movie and watch the dude get his head blown off and shit. We're like, oh, and then being from Michigan, you finally like you start buying Fangoria and shit. And you're like, oh, fucking Sam Raimi's from Michigan. Oh,
Right.
Yeah, it's dope.
check
Right.
this movie out, dude. So we actually saw Evil Dead 2 first, you know what I mean? Because at that time it was just easier to get Evil Dead 2, and then back in the day, like you could rent like friggin' videos at 7-Eleven, so we went up to 7-Eleven, like Evil Dead is up in this mother. So we rented Evil Dead from 7-Eleven.
Right,
That's
that's
awesome.
dope, man. That's such a good story. I feel
Shit
like
was
that's a
just
plot.
awesome.
I feel like that's a plot right there.
I'll take a fucking shot to that.
7-Eleven.
Cheers.
All day.
I'll drink some of this Fudgy Kruger that I've.
Oh, dude, we literally, I saw you post that earlier. I was like, he's getting ready for the podcast, man.
That is it right there, dude.
Yeah, that's so dope. That's a stout, right?
It is. Yep, oatmeal stout
Oatmeal stout.
made here in Michigan.
Love it. So do you have a favorite movie as far as practical effects go? Like, is there one movie, not your favorite movie of all time, but like, do you have one movie that you think the practical effects are just out of this world and they're better than anything?
I think hands down, it's got to be The Thing.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
We figured you were going to say
Carpenter's
that.
The Thing.
Yeah.
I mean, for the shit
Love
that they did in there, I mean,
It's
it's
incredible.
hands down like the one thing I didn't get to around Halloween wherever my Norris Spiderhead is here, you know, like
Yeah.
you can totally tell in the movie what they're doing. And I wanted to do it for Halloween. So like I got a remote control car and I was just gonna stick it in the wig and have
Oh,
the
great.
wheels come out. And then
Oh,
I was just gonna
shit.
chase people around with the shit. I
That's
still want to
fucking
do it,
awesome.
but you can totally tell when it's like the one scene where it's like trying to creep out the door and before Kurt Russell torches it and shit. You can totally tell that's what's going on with it. You know what I mean? I'm
Absolutely.
like, oh, that's
It's so good though, man.
It
dude.
is.
It's so
Just
brilliant.
all the stuff they do in there, man. It was
Oh,
And,
just
it's
and the thing
incredible.
is, you can watch it today and it withstands the test of
And it
time.
just does.
It
Like
truly does.
you can't say that for like CGI.
Oh
It
my
never
God.
withstands.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
the Langoliers.
I want to bring some current events into this. The Rust thing with Alec Baldwin, the gun, all this stuff. And there's a lot of talk about taking real guns out of movies. I'm not a proponent of it. I do not
Right.
like it. I think you just need to be safer. I mean, you don't hear about this happening all the time. I think if you start going the CGI route, in 10 years, you're going to say, geez, look at that. You know what I mean? Would John Wick be the same in 10 years as it would be now because they're using real weapons? I don't know what you feel about that or the CGI as a whole,
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
you know, but I think them trying to put CGI and everything, because I've heard a lot of people, well, we have the technology to put CGI guns in everybody's hands.
yeah.
It's not necessarily the same thing because technology changes, times change, and it doesn't always look the same. We always go back to The Mist with, you know, Stephen King with the
Yeah.
tentacle, you know, in the beginning of that movie with the tentacle coming in the
It's the
garage
worst part of
door,
the movie.
and it's so awful.
In the movies, the story is so
And
good.
the story is
man.
so good, but I don't want to say ruins the movie, but it does hamper the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, you do sit back and you go,
I wish they could have used a real
just
tentacle.
fuck yeah,
you
make
know,
one and like make it like it, the problem is it like everybody says CGI is like it looks more realistic, but then that's not what's scarier either. Like the stuff in The Thing and you know anything from the new, like take the new It movies for instance, everything was great until like, because you know I'm a huge fan of those movies.
Love it. Yep.
But when you put the CGI in, it just like puts such a damper on it. But Pennywise himself looks fucking unbelievable and all this shit. And I understand that they had to do CGI because the novel itself, there's so much that has to be done
Right.
to try to live up to the novel. But like, you know, that's why a lot of people just love the 1990 miniseries more, is because everything was, you know, besides the very end with the
With
spider,
practical
which looks
effects, right.
fucking terrible. But like, other than that, everybody loves, you know, the 90s version, I think, more just because it was all practical, you know?
Yeah. I just think maybe there should be a limit. Like if you don't have a Marvel Cinematic
Right.
Universe budget, so if you don't have a $200
Right.
million budget, then
Right.
you're not allowed to do that much CGI. Is what
Yeah.
it should be, because like
Seriously.
they pull it off, okay, but they're working on a $200 million budget, right?
Right.
So like stuff that's not on a $200 million budget, you know, and it starts off with like when, you know, George Lucas does those Star Wars prequels, you know what I mean? Like it's
Oh my
all
God.
CGI, man, and it didn't
Yeah.
look good, dude. We were like,
No.
At
it
the
didn't.
at the time though, it looked great, dude.
It did, yeah.
At the time, it looked great.
And
That's
it
what I
looked
always
like we were-
hear, you know.
it didn't. It didn't. At the time, it did not look great. Me and my friends grew up big Star Wars fans of the original shit. You know what I mean? And then we went to see that, and we're like, "The fuck is this, dude? Like,
Awful.
nothing is real in this." And
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's like you know, actors having to act to nothing there. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like Jar Jar Binks and shit, and like plus,
God.
I just don't understand that whole prequel trilogy.
And
Like,
it's
how
supposed to
could-
be like the future and shit.
The
and it,
third
like,
one
just
was
is
the
not.
only decent one of those movies, in my opinion.
totally agree
Yeah,
with you.
yeah,
It's the
yeah.
darkest, it's the coolest. The other
Yeah.
two, I'm like,
The
But
other
I
two
just
I
wanna
could
know,
live
like-
without. Yeah.
how in the fuck do you get all these really great actors and like how do you squeeze the shittiest performance out of them that you could possibly get? I'm like, the only one that like all right, I'll give it you
Ewan McGregor.
Liam Neeson and Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay, those were the two that I was like, okay, they're but like Ewan McGregor, man, like I was like, I'm like, dude, I expected so much more out of you.
Right. Well, maybe he
And
was
Hayden
looking at a fucking.
Christensen as
Maybe he was looking at a pole with
he
like a
probably
red
was.
with a red dot on it, and he was like, "This sucks. Like, how am I supposed to get any emotion out of myself?" Maybe he's a reactor. You know what I mean? Like a lot of
Right.
a lot of really good actors are reactors. They react to everything around them and the environment around them. And if you don't have that, if you just have a big green screen or a blue screen with a red dot on it, it's like, all right, look up here and fucking cry.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
okay, yeah, that's great.
I guess what like the other thing too is like I'm really interested with is you know, he's got that Obi-Wan series coming out. So I gotta imagine that that's probably a redemption thing for me. Because
Oh,
I
for
know
sure.
he's just such a good actor. You know what
He
I mean?
is,
And then
yeah.
like you see him, I guess you're only as good as like what they write for you in the script
Right.
or who your director is. I mean, I'm like, I mean, maybe George Lucas shouldn't have been directing those.
Right,
Dude, maybe,
right.
you know,
He was
but then I
pretty
mean,
good at he was pretty good in Doctor Sleep, man. I actually really enjoyed that movie.
I really enjoyed that movie as well, man.
That was
And
a
I
good
like the
sequel. You know,
director.
not a
Doctor
lot of
Sleep
sequels.
was
Not a
Doctor
lot of
Sleep was
sequels.
very good.
Not a lot
Yeah.
of sequels do their due diligence, but Doctor Sleep
That's-
was fairly
Here's
fairly well
another
done.
good example too of, you know, most movies now would just de-age somebody and do some shitty visual effect like they did
Right.
in Rogue One, you know, with
Right,
like Carrie
right.
Fisher and Peter Cushing. You know, but
Absolutely.
Dr. Sleep doesn't do that. He just got
No.
people that sort of look like
Yeah,
Shelley
Right.
Duvall and Jack
dude.
Nicholson and
He
stuff.
got Elliot from ET.
Yeah,
And,
Elliot
And
from
he
ET
looked
is-
he looked identical. It was better. It was better. I was like, oh my god.
and,
it's
and
fucking Jack
Halloween Kills,
Nicholson.
you go back to
Loomis.
Loomis.
He looked like
Yeah.
Loomis.
The guy looked like Loomis. I mean,
sounded
you,
like
you wouldn't
Loomis.
know.
Crazy.
Right. One of the worst CGI movies. I know we're kind of getting stuck on the CGI thing,
Well, it's a good idea, right?
but the Langoliers. Have you ever
Ah,
watched the Langoliers?
Yeah,
Dude.
because you should do made for TV CGI. That's-
Dude. Oh
it's,
my God.
dude, it's Pac-Man.
I'm so sick
Yeah,
of seeing
I
all
thought-
these Stephen King
Pac-Man.
movies
It's Pac-Man.
being made.
He made so much
remade.
money though.
In Pet Cemetery,
Was
the
terrible.
remake, I don't even acknowledge that was
Horrible.
remade. I love the original Pet Cemetery, one of my favorites of all time. That's probably one of my first horror movies I ever remember
Yeah.
watching. And when they remade that, I was so disappointed.
That has also
What-
all to do with plot. Like the story was
yeah.
terrible.
But-
you can't
but the Langoliers,
you gotta remake it. You gotta.
you have to remake it. It's such a good movie, and they ruined it.
It's Pac-Man.
The Pac-Man at the end is just
It's also in the
You gotta do
Bangor, Maine airport. Which is dope.
Bangamain,
Bangor,
dude.
Maine.
I think you
Right
have to
on,
gotta
bud.
remake it and not make it a friggin' made for TV movie.
Right.
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 That, like put strike one and two.
But it's
again.
not a big main
See-
hit. You
see
know what
that-
I mean? No
see-
one knows that.
Right.
That
But that's what I
story.
don't understand. Like they did the Dark Tower and they had Idris Elba and
And it was
Matthew
bad, it was
McConaughey, and it
bad.
wasn't a great movie.
No.
I think there's a lot of things that was made for TV, from Stephen King that could be remade. I mean, it was definitely better the second time around.
I think it was. I think it was the story.
I know a lot of people would disagree.
It hits on the novel way more than
It does.
than the original did. But I mean, people love Tim Curry, so I understand. But
I love Tim Curry
Well,
too.
see, I like the thing. So
I had a hard time not being. I'm sorry for interrupting.
no, go ahead. No, go
I
ahead.
had a hard time with it not being Tim Curry. Like when I went to the theaters and saw it, I was like, I had Georgie.
yeah,
I just felt I wanted to feel Tim Curry's voice,
right.
and then it was like different, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
It took me a little while to get used to. I'll be honest.
Don't get me wrong. Big fan of Tim Curry. He's done some awesome things, but I think the thing about that is he had to be the made for television Pennywise.
Right.
So I don't think he got to like fully cut loose and
No,
the
right.
full
definitely not.
potential of that character. He had scary parts, like the beginning, the laundry, the clothesline, and all that.
Right.
He had some scary parts for sure, but I think when you're dealing with an R-rated movie, dude, that's the Pennywise for me, because
Absolutely.
I'm like he was just a lot more scary than made for
Right.
TV Pennywise.
And
I'm just like,
he was way more to the novel. Like I'm a huge fan of the novel. It's one of my favorite books of all time. And Tim Curry's Pennywise just didn't grasp what the novel was trying to do. I mean,
Shut your mouth.
Well, he's not a
Shut your
he's not just a clown, right? He's a shapeshifter. He's this deadite. He's a deadlight. He's this
Right.
entity. He's a demonic force almost. So like
Right.
one of the things that I really, when I was younger, like him as Pennywise was like, oh my God, no one's ever going to touch this. But then when you read the novel, it's, oh my God, he almost has like a New York fucking accent.
Hiya,
And
Georgie.
he's living in Derry, Maine. So he shouldn't
Right.
be like that fucking at all. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
I hear you.
so there really shouldn't be an
I hear you.
accent there at all. But he, you know, I understand you had to have some persona, which it obviously worked. I mean, it was huge. But the movie itself just, you know, but then again, like back to the practical effects thing. I mean, you had to put so much CGI in the movie that, you know, when Pennywise is on screen, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when it goes to chapter 2 and he's this big spider thing, which they still did a lot better than the original, but it's just his big head and it's like,
Right.
Yeah.
it's so awkward, and it's like, dude, just fuck it, give me the clown. You know what I mean? Like, I understand he's the shapeshifter, and he, in the novel, he turns into the mummy, he turns into the I was a teenage werewolf, you know, he turns into all this different, the leper and all this shit, but like, fuck it, I mean, he's so good as the clown. It's crazy, man. The practical effects and the makeup is what makes him scary.
Yep. When we have people on here, I like to ask them a question that puts them on the spot a little bit. I understand. Top 3 horror movies. If you had top 3, you had to pick them right now, gun against your head. What is it?
All right. This I can definitely do. So I always do my top 3 by like what's been most influential to me.
Right.
My top 1 is Halloween, because if you watch like some of my old school movies and the way how much that influenced like my style of like wanting to do stuff like that, it'll always be Halloween. Like I said, those were the first movies I saw on like TV, the TV cut and everything.
Yep.
So like those things were just you know, just the first one. You know, I know it's like it seems like the cop out.
No, I love it. I
It's a
love
great
it.
fucking movie. It's a great
dude,
movie.
You'd be surprised who doesn't say Halloween. Nobody ever says Halloween.
It's true.
Right.
Like, honestly.
It's a great movie, man.
I think everybody probably says Halloween. So
No, they actually don't. People
Right.
don't usually say Halloween.
It's weird.
as
I think
far
they're
as-
afraid to say it.
I
but-
think they're afraid to say that Halloween is one of
but
their
it's
favorites.
so good, man.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
incredible.
Like we made
Yeah.
these movies like back in the day, and like we had this whole thing, Killer Cam, which was just ripped off from fucking Halloween. The point of view of the killer, no
Right.
mask on it, stuff. But I mean, it was all Carpenter, man. It was just all tone and everything, and it just had, you know, I don't know, it just captured like everything about like Halloween. You know what I mean? It just captured like the whole tone of the season and
Yep.
everything, and
Right.
like I loved Halloween, man. Like I saw that shit, but then I'll have to go with Evil Dead 2 would be my next one, because I got to represent my boy Sam Raimi from Michigan, and
Right,
we watched
right.
that shit. And dude, I'll tell you what, like, you know, we watched like I said, we watched Evil Dead 2 first before Evil Dead, but like Evil
Right.
Dead 2, it hit more. It hit like it stuck more with me, because like I love the comedic undertones to the shit, dude. And like
Right.
it was just all out like freaking blood spraying out of the walls and shit. And Bruce Campbell was fucking awesome.
Bruce Campbell is the man. Bruce Campbell is the man. What did you think about the Evil Dead remake?
I love the Evil Dead.
Me
remake,
too.
dude. I thought
Kept
Dude,
the
I
same
thought-
tone. Kept the same tone.
I
you
know-
man.
I know you're probably not gonna like me saying this, but I actually liked the Evil Dead remake more than I liked any of the Evil Deads. Evil Dead
No,
2,
and that's-
Evil 1,
'cause
2, right?
it took out that whole like comedy slapstick. 'cause
did.
he has
It
that
did.
comedy slapstick Three Stooges aspect to a lot of this stuff. Is Sam Raimi, you know?
Yeah,
Right.
And,
yeah.
that totally took it out of it, which was cool. I thought that was fucking sweet, because you know, if they're gonna just remake it and remake the same kind of shit, dude, I like that they just went fucking intense and
Yeah,
they
me
took all
too.
of that out of there, and it was
Yeah, if
just
they
straightforward.
tried to put comedy in there, it would have been fucking
Yeah,
terrible.
That was-
Because like you were saying, you're doing the same exact thing, and what are you remaking it for?
Right. What I loved about Evil Dead 1 and 2 though is, again, the practical effects were fucking great. The monsters, the
The
demonic
remake,
forces in this, I
though,
mean.
the
Well, of
remake
course,
was
it's-
unbelievable.
is all practical
It's-
effects as well, but it's mostly
right.
blood, right?
It's mostly
and it's gore, and it's definitely a gory movie. But I mean, Evil Dead 2 is like these big ass fucking prosthetic fucking faces and like all that type of shit. And even in the first one with like the first and second one with like the reverse claymation type of stuff, and it's just so fucking cool to watch, man. It really
Yeah.
was huge. And not to mention, I mean, I know Halloween did it before, but talk about a fucking point of view cam with Evil Dead, right? Like
Oh
that,
yeah,
that was
yeah.
like you put it on a fucking sled or a wagon or something and drag it through the woods.
Well,
You know
no,
what I
it
mean?
was just on a piece of wood that
Yeah, just run or some shit.
fucking walked through the woods
Yeah,
like that.
killer, man, killer.
And it was, I mean, we've talked about doing it in our next movie.
Yeah.
We've literally talked about doing it because it was so simple, it was so easy, and it was so effective.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It was
definitely
just
effective.
it was just effective, you
Not to
know.
mention
and
the
that's
Vine scene in the first one.
Vine
Obviously,
scene.
they do it in the remake. I know that,
Goodness,
but like,
very erotic.
if you would have saw that
very,
in the
very erotic.
definitely erotic as shit, bro. You haven't said that in a while.
I haven't
man,
said
dude.
it
You
in a
haven't said
while.
that
I
since,
brought
like,
it up for this one.
That was nice. That was like episode 15 is the last time you said that shit.
Very erotic, baby.
Scene. Actually, we did Evil Dead, didn't we?
We did Evil
That's probably
Dead,
the last
yeah.
time you fucking said it.
Probably. I've been thinking about it ever since.
Definitely an erotic scene, man.
No, there's an episode of that and Tom Atkins.
Right.
Yeah,
We got something here.
We'll have to
We got something
compile
here.
that shit together, man. Damn, totally right. Yeah.
So third. What's your third?
Okay, so I think third for me, I'm gonna have to say Phantasm, man, because I watched the
Ooh.
shit out of
Oh,
Phantasm,
boy.
dude.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
watched shit out of Phantasm, and me and my boy back in the 7th grade, we freaking wrote a fucking spoof called Spamtasm and shit. That's how much we like the movie.
Unbelievable. I'm trying to see that, bro. I'm trying to see that shit. That sounds
Yeah,
unbelievable.
flying spam cans, shit, flying spam cans, and all that other shit.
That's
dude, but, like,
unbelievable.
definitely, dude. I used to watch the shit out of that. I mean, like the list could go on, but I'll say those are my top 3 because I used to
Right.
watch.
Awesome.
Used to watch those all the time, man. Like
Right.
I said, just probably in that order. I'll say, you know, because like I would always like try to get Sam Raimi in there first for the Michigan Love, but like
Of course.
Carpenter's Halloween, dude, is just
Killer.
just
And
had such a
talk
big
about
influence on me.
Yeah, and talk about point of view cams. I mean, that was one of the original. That was like a newer camera when they filmed that. That was like one of those handheld ones that they were allowed to carry around, and they could do those scenes at the beginning where it's supposed to be from young Michael's point of view. I mean, that was a whole new camera. Like that was like state of the art shit. You know what I mean?
When you listen to the stories of those movies too, like you know, I've followed and read and like all the shit about making the Evil Dead and what the shit they went through to make the Evil
Oh
Dead.
my god,
like,
they were eating like
you know what I
12
mean?
they were
Everybody
eating
in the
12 or
cast got-
13 boxes of macaroni and cheese a day, staying out in the woods, fucking hot dogs and mac and cheese every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like,
guess they didn't shower for like 2 months.
Oh,
or anything,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
It was
and
like a
everybody
camping
on
trip,
that
bro.
movie got fucked up one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess everybody in that movie got fucked up one way or another. Like Bruce Campbell got, I'm sure, the most his ass beat was on that movie.
Oh,
for the sound,
definitely.
But like,
Isn't
you
that
know, he
so
lost
cool though?
That
Isn't
that is
cool?
cool. That is cool when you look back on it now and you're like, it's an iconic movie to all of us. You know what I mean? And like to look back on what they had to go through to make it. That's unbelievable.
That's the best story too. Like to what you do with your props and stuff like that, and then like us making Worm and working on our new film. It's like when we made Worm, the best part was the stories we kind of in the time we had making it. Like we always talk about, we're like, oh, I remember when we had to shoot this scene that took fucking 4 hours for 20 seconds
for
of
20
film,
seconds,
you know what I mean?
right.
And like for you, I'm sure it's like, oh my god, I built this fucking huge ass Demogorgon and it fucking took forever, you know what I mean?
I think that's fucking
But it's like,
awesome.
I'll never take it back, you know what I mean? Imagine those stories on Evil Dead or Halloween where it's like, oh my god, it took all this, and like people thought we did it this way, but we did it this way. And it's like, it's such a cool fucking story. It's like a journey, you know what I mean? You can create a movie and a documentary and all these other things just off that one thing.
Is there a special effects person that you look up to, you know, like Greg Nicotero or
Savini,
any of those guys that you kind of looked at and said, I want to do that. I want to, you know what I mean? I want to be able to.
Well, mine was like, you know, for me, it was like film filmmaking first, so I was kind of like more wanted to be a director and stuff. And then don't get me
Right.
wrong, like I knew all those guys, Savini, Nicotero, and all those dudes like that, you know. But like I just like we made, you know, obviously those two, but nowadays, like I would say Christopher Nelson, who does all the effects for the new Halloweens, made
Right.
Yeah. Right.
made the Michael Myers masks, the new ones, and like all the practical effects in the new one. You know, it's just like he does some awesome work, you know. But for me, I was always like, I wanted to be a director first, you know, I wanted to direct the movies first or whatever, you know, and then like just doing it, like doing everything yourself. you tend to want to do everything yourself. So I mean, that just
Yeah.
led to like, you know what I mean? Like so here, I have this, I just so happen to have this handy, the film that we made in 1999, The Fear Leaders, okay? Which
Love
is
it.
zombies and cheerleaders, all right,
Fuck
on
yeah, man.
VHS.
Oh, I love it.
Sick.
You selling those or what?
Yeah, we need one of those.
We gotta
man.
get
That's
one of
dope.
those.
Look at this that we had on there. I don't know if you can read that or not.
The film contains enough visual voodoo to turn innocent Catholic schoolgirls into sex-starved she-devils hell-bent on world domination.
I think that's
awesome.
very erotic.
That's fucking
That's
great, man.
also very erotic.
That's funny because
Is-
that was actually gonna
Is
be
Tom Atkins in that movie?
that is very erotic, man.
He is not, but if I could have got him, I would have got him.
That's funny, man, because that was my next question actually, was if you had been involved in any you know, indie films or anything like that. So obviously you just answered my question with that, but anything other than that movie or
No, not really. I just, you know, like we had done and this is just me and my friends getting together, man. Like that's who all the actors are in the movie. You know, you're not paying actors or anything like that. It's just
no.
everybody getting together and making this movie. We ended up making how long was this thing? An 80-minute movie
That's a
about
long
Wow,
time,
that
man.
is
cheerleaders
sick.
in the middle,
That's good, dude.
cheerleaders in the middle of a fucking zombie outbreak back in the day. So like I just want to say that was 99. Okay. I think we you know, we predated
Damn, that's
the whole
sick.
zombie craze, right? But
Did you get any
I would
nudity in
totally
that
love to,
movie?
like, what's
Any
that?
nudity?
No,
nudity?
none.
Tough to get, right?
But
Tough to get.
tough to get.
Tough,
Tough
it
to
is.
get. You know,
Tough to, it's
I
tough,
mean-
tough to convince someone you're not fucking paying. You know what I mean? Shit.
JT, this is breaking news here for anybody who's listening to the podcast. He's going full frontal in the next movie.
I am
Full.
full, dude. It's gonna be tough, man. But hey, we asked a bunch of girls if they'd get naked. They were like, no, and I was like, I'm gonna have to do it
He's
myself,
gonna
bro.
do it. He's gonna do it.
There
I
we
mean,
go.
you have to sacrifice for your
Right,
art.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You gotta
absolutely.
do it,
What's
and you
horror
gotta do it.
without nudity, man?
I'm
There's
so
gonna be-
happy that he said
There's gonna
that.
be something in there. Nah, we ain't fucking doing that shit.
And you
Oh.
can always tuck. You could tuck like Buffalo Bill.
Buffalo Bill.
Right. That's always an option. Yeah, that's true.
Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me.
I'm gonna have to sniff that shit. I'm clipping that shit.
Give me back my dog.
I'm clipping that shit. I'm clipping that shit. That's
I
going
love
on
it.
Instagram.
Me and my
man.
friend we'd always used to do the one where he's like, where she comes to his door and he's like, "Oh, is she a really big fat girl?" That's always
Right.
just the-
Yeah. Dude, great movie. That's another great movie.
Home of horror, the home of horror podcast. Home of horror, the home of horror podcast. Horror podcast.